On November 18, 1952, a single American pilot faced 7 of the most advanced fighter jets in the world. His aircraft was hit 263 times. He shot down 4 enemy planes. And then for the next 50 years, no one was allowed to know it ever happened. Silence. Why would a hero have to wait 70 years to be honored? Why would a man keep the greatest secret of his life from his own wife and children? And what kind of story could be so dangerous that telling it might have started the World War III? This is that story. The scene shifts. Arlington National Cemetery, autumn 2022. Thousands of white headstones stretch across rolling hills like rows of wheat on a Nebraska farm. An old man sits in a wheelchair, his hair white as snow, but his eyes still sharp as an eagle scanning the horizon. He is 97 years old. Beside him stand 4 generations of his family, his son, his daughter, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all of them watching as history finally catches up to a man who was never supposed to be remembered. This is Raymond Mitchell, former Navy pilot, and in just a few moments he will receive the Navy Cross, the second highest honor the United States Navy can bestow. The scene changes to the Pentagon. The Secretary of the Navy, Carlos del Toro, pins the medal onto Raymond's chest. The old man's hands tremble slightly, not from weakness, but from the weight of 7 decades pressing down on this single moment. But to understand why this moment took 70 years to arrive, we have to go back. Back to a frozen morning in November 1952, when a young pilot from Nebraska climbed into his cockpit and flew straight into a battle that could have ended the world. The screen fades to black. White letters appear against the darkness. 70 years earlier, the USS Oriskany, Sea of Japan, 5 in the morning. Raymond Mitchell opens his eyes in the darkness of the pilot's quarters. He is 27 years old, strong jaw, calm eyes, the kind of face you see in old photographs of men who built America with their hands. He sits up on his bunk and reaches for the photograph he keeps on the small shelf beside his bed. Margaret, Maggie, his wife. In the picture, she is laughing under the California sun, her hand resting on her belly. She is pregnant with their first child, a boy, the doctor said. Raymond wants to name him Thomas after his father. He pulls out a letter he wrote the night before. The paper is slightly crumpled from being folded and unfolded too many times. Maggie, my darling, tomorrow I have a mission near the northern border. I will be careful. I promise I will be home for Christmas. I want to hold you again. I want to meet our son. Save me a piece of your apple pie. I love you, Ray. P.S. I still think we should name him Thomas. He folds the letter carefully and slides it into the pocket of his flight suit right over his heart. He will mail it after the mission, after he comes back safe. Raymond Mitchell does not know that this letter will stay in that pocket for 70 years. He does not know that he will never send it. He does not know that by the end of this day, he will be ordered to forget everything that happened, to bury the truth so deep that even his wife will never learn what her husband did in the skies over Korea. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. To understand Raymond Mitchell, you have to understand where he came from. You have to understand Nebraska. The year is 1932, a small farm outside Lincoln. A 7-year-old boy stands on a wooden fence, his eyes fixed on the sky. The Great Depression has turned the world gray, but this boy does not notice. He is watching a biplane fly overhead, its engine sputtering and coughing as it passes low over the wheat fields. The pilot waves. The boy waves back. From that moment, Raymond Mitchell knew he was born to fly. His father, Thomas Mitchell, was a veteran of the First World War. He never talked about what he saw in the trenches of France, but some nights Raymond would hear him crying out in his sleep, fighting battles that ended decades ago. Thomas Mitchell taught his son many things: how to fix a tractor engine, how to throw a baseball, how to look a man in the eye when you shake his hand. But the most important lesson came on a cold winter morning when Raymond was 12 years old. They were in the barn working on the old Ford pickup that Thomas had bought secondhand in 1928. The engine would not start. They had been trying for hours. Raymond wanted to quit to go inside where it was warm, but his father would not let him. Son Thomas set his breath-making clouds in the frozen air. There are going to be times in your life when you are all alone, when nobody is coming to save you, when the only person you can rely on is yourself. And when that moment comes, you cannot quit. You have to keep going. You have to finish what you started. Do you understand? Raymond nodded. He did not fully understand then, but he would. Years later, at 26,000 feet, with 7 enemy fighters trying to kill him, he would remember his father's words, and he would not quit. Life on the farm was hard but simple. Every morning, Raymond woke at 4 o'clock to help with the chores, milking cows, feeding chickens, hauling water from the well. Breakfast was always the same: bacon fried crispy in a cast iron skillet, eggs sunny side up the yolks, still runny, toast with butter from their own cows, and coffee black, no sugar. That was how Nebraska men drank their coffee, strong and bitter and honest. In summer, Raymond played baseball with the other farm boys. He was a good pitcher with a fastball that could sting your hand right through the glove. In winter, he helped his father fix machines, learning how engines worked, how metal moved, how things that seemed broken could be made whole again with patience and skill. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Raymond was 16 years old. He tried to enlist immediately, but they turned him away. Too young. So he waited. He worked the farm. He watched the newsreels at the movie theater in town, seeing American boys his age fighting and dying on islands he had never heard of. And the day he turned 18, he walked into the Navy recruitment office in Lincoln and signed his name on the dotted line. "I want to fly," he told the recruiter. The recruiter looked at this farm boy from Nebraska, with dirt still under his fingernails and hay in his hair, and smiled. "Son, if you can survive flight school, we will teach you to fly." Raymond survived. Pensacola, Florida, 1944. The training was brutal. Of the 100 men who started in his class, only 23 graduated. Raymond was not the best pilot. He was not the fastest learner, but he was the one who never gave up. His instructor wrote in his evaluation that Ensign Mitchell lacks natural talent, but compensates with extraordinary determination. He does not know how to quit. The war ended before Raymond saw combat. Many of his classmates went home back to farms and factories and families. But Raymond stayed. Flying was not just what he did. It was who he was. In 1948, he met Margaret Thompson at a dance in San Diego. She was a nurse, the daughter of an auto mechanic from Oregon. She had red hair and green eyes and a laugh that made Raymond forget how to speak. They were married 6 months later. When Raymond deployed to Korea in 1951, Maggie was already pregnant. "Come home safe," she told him at the dock, her hands holding his face. "Promise me." "I promise," he said. "I will be home for Christmas." But now we must leave Nebraska and San Diego behind. Because this story is not just about one hero. 6,000 miles away on the other side of the world, another man was preparing for the same mission. A man who had been taught since childhood that Americans were the enemy. A man who would become Raymond Mitchell's greatest adversary, and in a strange way, his mirror image. Vladivostok, Soviet Union. A secret air base on the edge of the Pacific. Captain Viktor Antonovich Volkov sits alone in the pilot's ready room. He is 31 years old, dark hair cut short in military fashion, eyes that have seen too much. Before him sits a bowl of cold cabbage soup and a chunk of black bread. He is not hungry. His mind is elsewhere. He reaches into the pocket of his flight jacket and pulls out a photograph. His wife, Natasha. His son, Alexei. The boy is 3 years old in the picture, laughing, holding a wooden toy airplane that Victor carved for him. Alexei wants to be a pilot like his father. Victor hopes he never has to be. "My son," Victor whispers to the photograph, "when you grow up, I want you to be proud of your country. I am protecting these skies so that you can live in peace." He grew up here in Vladivostok, the son of a shipyard worker. His father was a true believer in communism, a man who had fought in the Civil War and watched the revolution transform Russia from a backward empire into a modern power. Every night at dinner, his father would tell stories about the old days, about the suffering of the workers, about the American intervention in 1918, when foreign troops landed on Russian soil and tried to strangle the new Soviet state in its cradle. "Never trust the Americans," his father told him. "They are imperialists. They want to rule the world. They smile and offer friendship, but behind their backs, they hold knives." Victor grew up believing this. He joined the Komsomol, the Communist Youth League. He excelled in the WWII aviation program. When the Air Force offered him a chance to fly the new MiG-15, he accepted without hesitation. The MiG-15 was the pride of Soviet engineering, faster than any American fighter, higher climbing, more heavily armed. When Victor first took the controls, he felt the power of the machine surge through his body like electricity. When I flew the MiG-15 for the first time, he wrote in his diary, I understood what it meant to be strong. No one can defeat us in the squishing. In 1949, Victor married Natasha, a military doctor he met during a training exercise. In 1950, their son Alexei was born. Victor named him after a Soviet hero, hoping the name would bring the boy luck and courage. But now it is November 1952, and Victor is far from home. Stalin has sent Soviet pilots to Korea secretly to fight the Americans without starting a world war. They wear Chinese uniforms. They speak Chinese on the radio. They are forbidden to fly over enemy territory or allow themselves to be captured alive. If the world knew that Soviet pilots were killing American pilots, it would mean war. Real war. Nuclear war. Victor understands the stakes. He follows orders. But sometimes late at night he wonders if the Americans are really the monsters his father described. He has shot down 3 American planes. He has killed American pilots. But he has never seen their faces. They are just shapes in his gunsight machines to be destroyed. The door to the ready room opens. A young man enters. Dmitry Sergeyevich Orlov, 24 years old. Victor's wingman. He is the son of a World War II hero, eager to prove himself worthy of his father's legacy. Captain Dmitry says radar has detected American aircraft heading north. We have orders to scramble. Victor looks at the photograph one last time, then slides it back into his pocket, pressing it against his heart. Dmitry, he says, remember what I told you. Stay on my wing. Do not separate from the formation. Whatever happens, stay with me. Yes, Captain. Viktor Volkov does not know that these are the last words he will ever speak to Dmitry Orlov while the young man is still alive. 7 MiG-15 taxis onto the runway at Vladivostok. Their engines scream as they accelerate, lifting off one by one into the gray November sky, heading south toward the Korean border. Heading toward Raymond Mitchell. Back on the USS Oriskany, the sun is just beginning to rise over the Sea of Japan. Raymond Mitchell walks into the mess hall and breathes deep. The smell hits him like a memory. Bacon frying, coffee brewing. The same smells from his mother's kitchen in Nebraska transplanted somehow to this floating city of steel in the middle of the Pacific. He grabs a tray and joins the line. Bacon crispy, eggs sunny side up, toast with butter, coffee black. He carries his tray to a table where his wingman is already eating. Jack Donovan. Danny to his friends, 25 years old. Boston Irish with red hair and a mouth that never stops moving. He is eating a sandwich and talking at the same time, which means crumbs are flying everywhere. Hey, Ray, Danny says through a mouthful of bread, when we get home, I am going to open a bar in Boston. You have to bring Maggie. I will give her free Coca-Cola. Raymond smiles. Maggie does not drink Coca-Cola. She prefers apple pie. Oh, Maggie makes apple pie. I have got to try that sometime. She sent me one last week. Still have a few pieces in the icebox. They eat in comfortable silence for a moment. The bacon is perfect, crispy and salty, and Raymond savors each bite. This might be the last meal a pilot ever eats. You learn to appreciate the small things. The briefing room, 700 hours. 4 pilots sit before a large map. Major Roberts stands at the front, pointer in hand. Gentlemen, today's mission is to provide escort for a bombing run on targets near Hwaryeong, North Korea. This is as far north as we go. You will be just a few miles from the Soviet border. Under no circumstances are you to violate Soviet airspace. If you encounter enemy aircraft, your priority is to protect the bombers. If you are outnumbered, withdraw south. Do not engage unnecessarily. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Raymond studies the map. The target is close to the red line marking the Soviet border. Too close. He has a bad feeling, but he keeps it to himself. Bad feelings do not change orders. 7:30 in the morning. 4 F9F Panthers launch from the deck of the USS Oriskany. Raymond Mitchell leads the second element with Danny Donovan on his wing. The Panther was a good aircraft, reliable, maneuverable, easy to fly. But it had one serious problem. It was nearly 100 miles per hour slower than the Soviet MiG-15. In a dogfight, the Panther was like a lightweight boxer fighting a heavyweight. The only way to win was through skill and courage and a willingness to take risks that saner men would refuse. They climbed through the clouds heading north. Below them, the Korean coastline emerges from the morning mist. Mountains, rivers, villages that from this height look peaceful, untouched by the war that has been tearing the country apart for 2 years. Raymond checks his instruments. Altitude 15,000 feet, airspeed 400 knots. Fuel good, weapons armed, everything is normal. Then the radio crackles. Eagle Flight, this is Eagle Lead. I have a serious engine malfunction. I am returning to the carrier. Raymond watches as the lead Panther banks away, trailing smoke. His wingman follows as per protocol. 2 aircraft, returning to base, which means Raymond and Danny are alone. Danny Raymond says, just us now. Copy that, Ray. We got this. They continue north, climbing higher. 20,000 feet, 22,000. The air grows thin and cold. Raymond can see his breath fogging the inside of his oxygen mask. Then he sees them. 7 white contrails cutting across the gray sky, coming fast from the north. Tally-ho, Raymond calls. 7 bogies, 11 o'clock high. The MiGs split into 2 groups. 4 go left, 3 go right. The classic pincer movement. Raymond has seen this tactic before in training films. The Soviets use it, the Chinese use it. It is designed to trap an enemy between 2 converging forces, leaving no escape. Raymond and Danny are caught in the middle. Here they come, Danny shouts. The first MiG dives, guns blazing. Tracer rounds streak past Raymond's canopy so close, he can feel the heat. He throws the Panther into a hard turn, pulling G's that press him deep into his seat. The MiG roars past, too fast to follow. Then another one and another. They come in waves, attacking from every direction. The sky is filled with tracers and engine smoke and the screaming of jets. Raymond fights on instinct. Turn, roll, dive, climb. The Panther responds to his every command, dancing through the chaos like a boxer dodging punches. But he knows he cannot keep this up forever. The MiGs are faster. They can dictate the engagement. Sooner or later, one of them will get a clean shot. And then he sees it. A MiG flashes past so close that Raymond can see the pilot through the canopy. And on the wing, instead of the red and blue roundel of North Korea, he sees something else. A poor red star, the star of the Soviet Union. His blood runs cold. Danny, he shouts into the radio, these are not Koreans. These are Soviet MiGs. What Soviets? In that moment, Raymond Mitchell understands that he is no longer just fighting for his life. He is standing on the edge of World War III. If he kills Soviet pilots, it could start a nuclear war. If he does not fight back, he will die. The decision is made for him. Another MiG dives, guns blazing. Raymond has no choice but to fight, and the battle has only just begun. The sky erupts into chaos. Raymond throws his Panther into a desperate series of maneuvers, trying to shake the MiG on his tail. Tracers streak past his canopy, close enough to leave his ears ringing. Danny, stay with me, he calls. Right behind you, Ray. But even as he fights for his life, Raymond cannot shake the thought from his mind. These are Soviet pilots, not Chinese, not Korean, Soviet. The enemy that America has been preparing to fight since 1945. The enemy with nuclear bombs. The enemy that could end the world. And he is about to kill them. Or they are about to kill him. The next 30 minutes will determine the fate of nations. But Raymond Mitchell does not know that yet. All he knows is that there are 7 enemies in the sky. His wingman is somewhere in the chaos, and the only way out is through. He pulls the stick back, climbing toward the sun, and prepares to fight. The sky above Korea has become a killing ground. Raymond Mitchell throws his Panther into a hard right turn as tracer rounds streak past his canopy so close he can smell the cordite burning through his oxygen mask. His body is pressed into the seat by the crushing force of the maneuver, blood draining from his head, vision narrowing to a tunnel. But he cannot ease up. The moment he stops moving, he dies. 7 Soviet MiGs, 2 American Panthers, and now, somewhere in the cast, Danny has disappeared into a cloud bank chasing a wounded enemy, which means Raymond is alone. 6 MiGs against 1 Panther. The odds are impossible. The MiG-15 is faster, climbs higher, carries heavier guns. In a straight fight, a Panther has no chance against even 1 MiG, let alone 6. But Raymond Mitchell is not fighting a straight fight. He is fighting the only way he can, with skill, with instinct. with the stubborn refusal to die that his father beat into him on that frozen Nebraska morning 20 years ago. You cannot quit. You have to keep going. You have to finish what you started. A MiG comes in from the right, guns blazing. Raymond rolls left, feeling the airframe shudder as rounds punch through his wing. He completes the roll and finds himself behind another MiG, the enemy pilot, clearly not expecting the American to survive that attack. Raymond does not hesitate. His thumb finds the trigger. 620mm cannons roar to life, sending a stream of fire into the Soviet aircraft. Inside the MiG, Lieutenant Alexei Pavlov feels the impacts like hammer blows against his spine. Warning lights flash across his instrument panel. Smoke pours from his engine. He is 23 years old. He joined the Air Force to make his mother proud. He never wanted to die in a foreign sky fighting an enemy he has never met. "I am hit," he screams into his radio. "I am hit." The MiG begins to spiral, trailing black smoke against the gray clouds. Pavlov reaches for the ejection handle and pulls. The canopy blows away. The seat rockets upward. A white parachute blossoms against the winter sky. Raymond watches the enemy pilot drift down toward the sea below. One down. But there is no time to celebrate. 5 more MiGs are still circling, still hunting, still trying to kill him. "Danny," he calls into the radio. "Where are you, static?" Danny responds. More static, then faintly through the interference, Danny's voice. "I am chasing one into the clouds. I will be right back. Negative. Danny, return to formation. I need you here." But the radio goes silent. Danny is gone, pursuing his own battle somewhere in the endless gray. Raymond is truly alone now. He pulls the stick back, climbing toward the sun, trying to gain altitude. The Panther groans under the strain, its engine screaming at maximum power. He needs height. In aerial combat, altitude is life. The higher you are, the more options you have. The more energy you can convert into speed or maneuverability when you need it most. But the MiGs are climbing too, and they are faster. In the lead MiG, Captain Viktor Volkov watches the American with growing amazement. This pilot is not like the others he has fought. The Americans Victor has encountered before were competent but predictable. They followed their training manuals. They flew by the book. This one is different. This one fights like a wolf cornered by a pack of dogs, turning and snapping and refusing to go down. All aircraft, Victor orders through his radio, concentrate on the target. Do not let him escape. He has lost one pilot already. Pavlov, the young lieutenant who always smiled too much, who kept a photograph of his girlfriend in his cockpit, who dreamed of returning to Moscow and becoming a test pilot. Now Pavlov is floating down toward the freezing sea, and Victor does not know if rescue boats will reach him in time. This American will pay for that. Victor pushes the throttle forward, feeling the MiG surge beneath him. He will handle this himself. He will show this arrogant Yankee what a real pilot can do. The two aircraft climb toward each other, converging on a collision course. Raymond sees the lead MiG coming straight at him, not turning, not evading. This is a challenge, a duel. The Soviet pilot wants to face him head on. Raymond has two choices. He can turn away, try to escape, hope to outmaneuver the faster enemy, or he can accept the challenge, fly straight into the guns of the enemy, and see who blinks first. He thinks of his father, of Nebraska, of the lessons learned in frozen barns and dusty fields. You cannot quit. Raymond points his nose at the oncoming MiG and pushes the throttle to the firewall. The two jets close at a combined speed of over 1,200 miles per hour. The distance between them shrinks from 2 miles to 1 mile to half a mile in seconds. Both pilots open fire. Tracers crisscross in the air, between them forming a deadly web of light and metal. Raymond sees enemy rounds flash past his canopy so close he could reach out and touch them. He holds the trigger down, watching his own tracers reach toward the MiG like fingers of death. The MiG shudders. Pieces fly off the left wing, but it keeps coming. Raymond keeps firing. The MiG keeps coming. 300 yards, 200 yards, 100 yards. At the last possible moment, both pilots break. The jets scream past each other with barely 10 feet of separation, close enough that Raymond can see the Soviet pilot through his canopy. Their eyes meet for a fraction of a second. The Soviet pilot raises his hand. Not a wave, not a salute. Something else. A challenge. An acknowledgement. One warrior recognizing another. Then they are past each other, pulling hard turns, coming around for another pass. In that moment, two men from opposite ends of the world saw each other clearly. They did not know each other's names. They did not know each other's stories. They did not know that one of them had a pregnant wife waiting in California, or that the other had a 3-year-old son in Vladivostok. But they understood something fundamental. They were equals, adversaries worthy of respect. Two pilots at the peak of their abilities, fighting for causes they believed in, neither willing to surrender. It was the kind of moment that happens only in war, the kind of moment that haunts men for the rest of their lives. But we must pause here. We must step out of that frozen sky for a moment and travel forward in time, 70 years forward, to a quiet living room in California where an old man sits before a camera remembering. Raymond Mitchell, 97 years old. His hair is white now, his hands spotted with age, but his eyes are still sharp. The eyes of a pilot, the eyes of a man who has seen things that most people cannot imagine. When I saw the red star on that MiG, he says slowly, I knew I was in serious trouble. Not because they were better than me, but because if I killed Soviet pilots, the world might end. The interviewer asks a question off camera. Did you think about retreating? Raymond smiles, the smile of a man who has been asked a foolish question. Retreat. How do you retreat when 6 MiGs are shooting at your tail? You fight. That is all you can do. You fight until you win or you die. There is no third option. His smile fades. But I will tell you something I have never told anyone before. In that moment when I was alone up there, I thought about Maggie. I thought about our baby. And I thought if I die here, no one will ever know what happened. The Soviets will say it was an accident. The Americans will say nothing at all. And my wife will spend the rest of her life wondering what really happened to her husband. He pauses. His old eyes grow distant, looking at something the camera cannot see. That scared me more than the MiGs. Dying is one thing. Being forgotten is something else entirely. Back to 1952. Back to the battle. Raymond comes out of his turn and finds 3 MiGs converging on him from different directions. He is caught in a box with enemies above, below, and to his left. There is no escape, no room to maneuver. In seconds, he will be in the crossfire of 3 aircraft, and no amount of skill will save him. He does the only thing he can. He picks one MiG and charges straight at it. The Soviet pilot is not expecting this. Who would be a lone American outnumbered and outgunned attacking instead of running? It makes no sense. It is suicide. But Raymond Mitchell does not know how to run. He opens fire at maximum range, sending tracers arcing toward the approaching MiG. The Soviet pilot flinches, breaking off his attack, diving away to avoid the Americans' guns. It is only a momentary reprieve, but it is enough. Raymond uses the opening to climb, gaining precious altitude, putting distance between himself and the other attackers. At that same moment, 6,000 miles away, in a windowless room at a secret facility in Japan, American intelligence officers are listening to something that makes their blood run cold. The National Security Agency, the NSA, has been monitoring Soviet radio frequencies throughout the Korean War. They have heard Chinese pilots talking in Chinese. They have heard Korean pilots talking in Korean. But today they are hearing something different. Russian, pure Moscow Russian. The voices of Soviet Air Force pilots calling out positions, coordinating attacks, reporting damage. Sir, a young analyst says, his face pale. These are not Chinese or Korean pilots. These are Soviets, regular Soviet Air Force. They are engaging our aircraft right now. The senior officer snatches up a phone. Get me the fleet commander, immediately. Within minutes, the message reaches the USS Oriskany. Captain Harold Sterling, the ship's commanding officer, receives the urgent communication in the bridge. From WWII, Soviet pilots confirmed engaging our aircraft. Risk of international incident extreme. Order immediate disengagement. Repeat order immediate disengagement. This could start World War III. Sterling feels his stomach drop. He grabs the radio handset. Eagle 2. This is Eagle Nest. Disengage immediately. I repeat, disengage immediately. Your targets are confirmed Soviet. Return to base. Do not engage further. Acknowledge. The message crackles through Raymond's headset, cutting through the chaos of battle. Eagle Nest, this is Eagle 2. He is breathing hard, his voice strained from the G's he is pulling. I cannot disengage. I am under attack right now. They are shooting at me. Sterling closes his eyes. He knows what he is asking is impossible. You cannot disengage from a fight when the enemy will not let you leave. But he also knows what is at stake. If this battle continues, if American pilots kill Soviet pilots in a confirmed engagement, it could be the spark that ignites a nuclear war. The destruction of cities, the death of millions, the end of civilization as they know it. Eagle 2 Sterling says, his voice heavy with the weight of command, do what you have to do to survive. But understand the stakes, the whole world is watching. Raymond does not have time to respond. A MiG is diving on him from above, guns blazing. He throws the Panther into a barrel roll, feeling rounds punch through his fuselage, hearing the metallic ping of impacts against his armor plating. In that moment, Raymond Mitchell had to make a decision that no general, no politician, no president wanted to make. Continue fighting and possibly start a nuclear war. Or stop fighting and certainly die. He chose to fight. Because in the end, when death is staring you in the face, politics and strategy and international relations mean nothing. Survival is everything, and Raymond Mitchell intended to survive. The battle continues. Raymond is climbing again, trying to reach the sun, trying to put the blinding light behind him, so the enemy pilots will have trouble tracking him. 3 MiGs are in pursuit, their engines screaming as they try to close the distance. One MiG pulls ahead of the others. The pilot is young and eager, pushing his aircraft to its limits, determined to be the one who kills the American. He closes the firing range and squeezes the trigger. But he has made a mistake. He fired too early. The range is too great. His shells fall short, exploding harmlessly in the air between them. Raymond does not make that mistake. He waits. 250 yards, 200 yards, 150 yards. The MiG is filling his windscreen now, so close he can see the rivets on its fuselage. Now, his thumb presses the trigger. 6 cannons roar. 20-millimeter shells tear through the air at 3,000 feet per second. They strike the MiG directly in the cockpit. Inside the aircraft, Lieutenant Dmitry Sergeyevich Orlov never knows what hits him. One moment he is alive, focused on his target, thinking about glory and medals and making his father proud. The next moment, he is gone, killed instantly by a shell that punches through his canopy and ends everything in a flash of light and pain. The MiG continues forward for a moment, its momentum carrying it through the sky. Then it begins to tumble, flipping end over end, trailing smoke and debris as it falls toward the clouds below. No parachute emerges, no emergency beacon activates. Dmitry Orlov, 24 years old, son of a Soviet hero, is dead. In the lead MiG, Viktor Volkov sees everything. He sees his wingman's aircraft shatter. He sees the canopy disappear in a spray of glass and metal. He sees the MiG begin its death spiral, falling into the gray void below. Dmitry. The scream tears from his throat, raw and primal. He has known Dmitry for 2 years, trained with him, flown with him, watched him grow from a nervous rookie into a confident pilot. Viktor promised Dmitry's mother that he would bring her son home safe. He promised himself that he would protect this young man who looked up to him like a brother. And now Dmitry is dead, killed by an American, killed by the pilot in that lone Panther who refuses to die. Rage floods through Viktor's body, cold, burning rage that wipes away everything else. Fear, caution, the orders from Moscow about avoiding international incidents. None of it matters anymore. All that matters is vengeance. He pushes the throttle to maximum power, feeling the MiG leap forward like a predator pouncing on prey. The American is ahead of him, climbing toward a cloud bank. Viktor follows his finger on the trigger, his eyes locked on the enemy aircraft. "You killed my brother," he whispers through clenched teeth. "Now I will kill you." Raymond sees the MiG coming. He recognizes it as the lead aircraft, the one piloted by the commander he faced in that first head-on pass. But something is different now. The MiG is not maneuvering tactically. It is coming straight at him full speed, as if the pilot does not care about defense or survival. Raymond understands. He has seen this before in training films and combat reports. A pilot who has lost someone he cares about. A pilot consumed by rage. Such men are dangerous because they no longer fear death. But they are also predictable. Rage makes you fast. It does not make you smart. He turns to meet the attack. The 2 jets close once again, head-to-head, guns blazing. This time there is no caution, no testing of defenses. Both pilots are firing continuously, pouring everything they have into destroying the other. Raymond feels impacts on his aircraft. His instruments flicker. A warning light comes on, then another. His left wing is taking damage. His fuel system is compromised. But he keeps firing. Victor feels impacts too. His engine coughs. His hydraulics are sluggish. But he keeps firing. They pass each other again, even closer than before. Raymond sees holes appear in the MiG's fuselage. Victor sees pieces tear off the Panther's wing. Both aircraft are wounded now. Both pilots are wounded in ways that do not show on the outside. Victor pulls into a hard turn, coming around for another pass. But his aircraft is not responding properly. The controls are heavy. The engine is making a sound it should not make. Smoke is beginning to fill his cockpit. He looks at his instruments. Hydraulic pressure dropping. Fuel leaking. Engine temperature critical. He has to break off. If he continues, his aircraft will fail completely. He will crash. He will die. And Dimitri's death will mean nothing. The rage drains away, replaced by cold reality. Victor is a professional. He knows when a battle is lost. All aircraft, he orders, his voice hollow, return to base. Disengage and return to base. He pulls his damaged MiG into a climbing turn, heading north towards Soviet territory, towards safety, toward home. But before he disappears into the clouds, he looks back one more time at the American Panther. The aircraft is visibly damaged, trailing smoke, barely holding together. But it is still flying, still fighting. "You are good, American Victor," whispers. "I will remember you." Then he is gone, swallowed by the gray sky, leaving Raymond alone with his damaged aircraft and the weight of what he has done. Raymond allows himself one breath of relief. The MiGs are withdrawing. The battle is over. But then he looks at his instrument panel and his relief turns to ice. Warning lights everywhere. Hydraulic failure. Fuel leak. Control surfaces not responding. His Panther is dying around him. He tries to turn south toward the carrier, but the aircraft barely responds. The stick feels like it is moving through concrete. The rudder does nothing at all. Half his instruments are dark. "Eagle Nest, this is Eagle 2. His voice is calm, the voice of a professional pilot reporting a problem even as his heart pounds against his ribs. "I am hit. Multiple systems failure. Hydraulics gone. Controls are minimal. I am going to try to make it back. Copy, Eagle 2. What is your status?" "I am flying," Raymond says. Barely. He has two choices now: eject over the ocean and hope someone rescues him before he freezes to death in the icy water, or try to nurse this crippled aircraft back to the carrier and land it on a pitching deck in heavy seas. The water temperature this time of year is near freezing. Survival time is 20 minutes, maybe less. The rescue helicopters would take at least 30 minutes to reach him. Ejecting means death. He has to land. Raymond fights his wounded aircraft toward the south, every movement a battle against failing systems and damaged controls. The Panther wants to roll left. He has to hold constant right pressure on the stick just to keep the wings level. The engine is running rough, making sounds that no engine should make. And then behind him, a new enemy appears. A MiG, one of the Soviets who did not follow the withdrawal order. A young pilot, perhaps eager for glory. Or maybe just someone who did not hear the command in the chaos of battle. Whatever the reason, the MiG is closing fast, and Raymond cannot maneuver to escape. He tries anyway. He throws the Panther into a turn, pulling the stick with all his strength. The aircraft groans, metal screams, but it barely moves, wallowing through the air like a wounded bird. The MiG opens fire. Raymond hears the impacts, feels them. The Panther shudders as round after round tears through its fuselage. He can see holes appearing in his wings, daylight visible through metal that was solid a moment ago. 37mm shells punch through his left wing, tearing through the fuel tank. The hydraulic lines, the structural supports. 23mm rounds stitch across his tail, destroying what remains of his control surfaces. The damage is catastrophic. By any reasonable measure, the aircraft should be falling out of the sky, but somehow, impossibly, it keeps flying. And then through the chaos, Raymond hears a voice. "Ray, on your left." Danny Donovan comes screaming out of the clouds, his guns blazing. He catches the attacking MiG completely by surprise, his tracers raking across its engine. The Soviet pilot breaks off immediately, diving away, trailing smoke. "Danny, where did you come from?" "I lost that guy in the clouds. Came back as fast as I could." "Jesus, Ray!" Your plane looks like Swiss cheese. Raymond looks at his aircraft. Danny is right. He can see through the fuselage in places. The wings are more whole than metal. The tail is hanging by threads. But the engine is still running. The aircraft is still flying. I have to land this thing, Danny. Can you even fly it? Only one way to find out. They turn south together, two Panthers against the gray sky, one whole and one dying. The USS Oriskany is somewhere ahead, a tiny island of safety in an endless ocean. Raymond does not know if he can reach it. He does not know if he can land, even if he does reach it. But he has no choice. He cannot quit. He has to keep going. He has to finish what he started. And somewhere in his pocket, pressed against his heart, the letter to Maggie waits. The letter he promised to mail after the mission. The letter that tells her he loves her, that he wants to meet their son, that he will be home for Christmas. He intends to keep that promise, even if it kills him. The USS Oriskany appears on the horizon like a gray ghost floating on an endless sea. Raymond Mitchell has never been so happy to see anything in his life. The carrier is still 10 miles away, a tiny rectangle against the dark water, but it represents something more than safety. It represents home. It represents Maggie. It represents the future he almost lost in the skies over Korea. But between Raymond and that future lies the most dangerous part of his journey. Landing. He checks his instruments again. The news is not good. Hydraulic pressure is 0. Fuel is leaking at a rate that gives him maybe 15 minutes of flight time. His control surfaces are barely responding. The stick feels like it is connected to nothing, and every movement of the aircraft feels sluggish and wrong. Normal landing speed for a Panther is around 120 knots. At that speed, the pilot has enough control authority to make the precise adjustments needed to catch one of the arresting cables on the carrier deck. It is a delicate operation even under perfect conditions. The deck is moving. The ship is pitching in the waves. The pilot has to hit a target area roughly the size of a tennis court while traveling at nearly 140 miles per hour. Raymond cannot do 120 knots. His damaged aircraft will not fly that slow. Without hydraulics, without functioning control surfaces, the Panther will stall and fall out of the sky if he drops below 170 knots. 170 knots, nearly 200 miles per hour, 50 knots faster than any carrier landing in history. Eagle Nest, this is Eagle 2. Raymond's voice is steady, betraying none of the fear that is clawing at his chest. I am 10 miles out. I need to advise you of my situation. My hydraulics are gone. Controls are minimal. Minimum safe airspeed is 170 knots. I cannot slow down below that or I will lose the aircraft. Silence on the radio. Raymond can imagine the officers on the bridge looking at each other, trying to figure out what to say. 170 knots is not a landing speed. It is a crash speed. Then Captain Harold Sterling's voice comes through, calm and authoritative. Eagle 2, understand your situation. We are preparing for emergency recovery. Continue your approach. Sterling stands on the bridge of the Oriskany, binoculars pressed to his eyes, watching the distant speck that is Raymond's Panther crawling toward them across the gray sky. He has been a naval officer for 25 years. He has seen men die. He has made decisions that cost lives. But he has never faced anything quite like this. The young pilot out there has just fought 7 Soviet MiGs alone. He shot down 4 of them. His aircraft has been hit over 200 times. And now he is trying to land that shattered machine on a carrier deck in heavy seas at a speed that should be impossible. Sterling turns to his executive officer. What are his chances? The XO shakes his head slowly. At that speed, sir, even if he catches a wire, the stress might tear his tailhook off. If he misses the wires, he will go off the bow into the water. If he comes in crooked, he will hit the island. I would say his chances are 1 in 10, maybe less. Sterling nods. He looks back at the approaching aircraft. Then we give him the best 1 in 10 chance we can. Helm, bring us into the wind. Maximum speed. I want as much wind over the deck as possible. The massive carrier begins to turn its bow, swinging toward the north where the wind is blowing strongest. The more wind over the deck, the slower Raymond's relative speed will be when he touches down. It is not much, but it is something. In the air, Raymond is fighting a battle against physics and failing machinery. The Panther wants to roll left. He has to hold constant right pressure on the stick just to keep the wings level. But his arm is getting tired, the muscles are burning. He has been fighting this aircraft for 15 minutes and the strain is taking its toll. Danny Donovan flies beside him close enough that Raymond can see his face through the canopy. "How are you doing, Ray?" "I have been better." Raymond tries to smile, but it does not quite work. "Listen, Danny, if I do not make it, I need you to do something for me. You are going to make it. If I do not, tell Maggie I love her. Tell her I am sorry I could not keep my promise. And tell her to name the baby Thomas, after my father." Danny is silent for a moment. When he speaks again, his voice is rough. "You tell her yourself, Ray, you are going to land this thing, and you are going to go home, and you are going to hold your wife and meet your son. You hear me?" "Yeah." Raymond looks at the carrier growing larger in his windscreen. "Yeah, I hear you." He begins his approach. The standard carrier landing pattern is a precise series of maneuvers. Downwind leg brake turn, final approach. The pilot follows a glide slope indicator, making constant adjustments, lining up with the deck, watching for the signals from the landing officer. It is a dance that carrier pilots practice hundreds of times until it becomes automatic. Raymond cannot follow the standard pattern. His aircraft will not allow it. He comes in straight. No pattern, no brake, turn, just a long, slow descent toward the pitching deck. "Eagle 2, this is paddles." The landing signal officer's voice is tense. "I have you on approach. You are high and left. Correct right and come down." Raymond tries to correct. He pushes the stick right and forward. The Panther responds, but slowly, grudgingly, like a wounded animal that does not want to move. He is drifting left. He can see it. The deck is not lining up with his nose. "I cannot correct," he says. The aircraft is not responding. "I'm going to miss the deck." On the bridge, Sterling watches through his binoculars. The Panther is coming in wrong. Too far left. At this angle, Raymond will either miss the deck entirely or hit the island's superstructure. Either way, he is dead. Sterling makes his decision in less than a second. "Helm come right 15 degrees. Now the helmsman stares at him. "Sir, you heard me. Come right 15 degrees. We are going to line up with him." The order makes no sense. Aircraft carriers do not maneuver to line up with aircraft. Aircraft line up with carriers. But Sterling does not have time to explain. He does not have time for anything except action. The helmsman spins the wheel. 27,000 tons of steel begin to turn the bow, swinging to the right, the deck rotating to meet the crippled Panther. "Eagle 2, Sterling says into the radio, maintain your course. We are coming to you." Raymond cannot believe what he is hearing. They are turning the ship for him, but he has no time to think about it. The deck is coming up fast, too fast. He can see sailors scattering for cover, clearing the landing area. He can see the LSO waving his paddles frantically. He can see the 4 arresting cables stretched across the deck like the strings of a guitar. 100 yards. The deck is still not quite aligned. He is still coming in at an angle, but it is closer now. Close enough that he just might catch a wire. 50 yards. He can see individual faces now. Men looking up at him with fear and hope in their eyes. 25 yards. This is it. Raymond pulls the stick back slightly, raising the nose, flaring for landing. The Panther resists, shuddering, threatening to stall. He holds it right on the edge, right at the point where the aircraft wants to fall out of the sky. 10 yards. The deck rushes up to meet him. Impact. The Panther slams onto the deck with a force that drives Raymond down into his seat, that compresses his spine, that makes his vision go gray around the edges. The aircraft bounces once, twice the tail hook, dragging across the deck, searching for a wire. It catches the 3rd wire. The cable goes taut. The Panther jerks backward with a violence that throws Raymond forward against his harness. The straps dig into his shoulders, his chest cutting off his breath. The aircraft screams, metal grinding against metal, the damaged airframe protesting the sudden deceleration. For one terrible moment, Raymond thinks the tailhook will tear off. He can hear the metal groaning, feel the aircraft shaking itself apart around him. If the hook fails, he will go off the end of the deck and into the sea. But the hook holds. The Panther slides forward 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, and then it stops. Silence. Raymond sits in the cockpit, hands still gripping the stick, heart pounding so hard he can hear it in his ears. He is alive. He made it. Against all odds, against all logic, against everything that should have happened, He is alive. Eagle nest. He says, his voice barely above a whisper. Eagle 2 is down. On the bridge, Captain Sterling slowly lowers his binoculars. His hands are shaking. Around him, officers and sailors are cheering, slapping each other on the back, releasing the tension that has been building since they first heard Raymond's distress call. But Sterling does not cheer. He just looks at the shattered Panther sitting on his deck, smoke rising from its engine holes visible throughout its fuselage, and shakes his head in quiet amazement. That he says to no one in particular is the damnedest thing I have ever seen. Raymond climbs out of the cockpit with the help of 2 deck crew members. His legs are shaking so badly he can barely stand. He leans against the fuselage of his aircraft and looks at it, really looks at it for the first time. It is destroyed. There is no other word for it. The wings are riddled with holes, some of them big enough to put your fist through. The tail is barely attached, hanging at an angle that suggests it was held on by nothing more than hope and prayer. The fuselage looks like someone took a giant shotgun to it. A maintenance chief approaches clipboard in hand. He has been counting the holes. Lieutenant, he says, his voice filled with something between horror and awe, I count 263 separate hits on your aircraft. 263. I do not know how you flew this thing. I do not know how you landed it. By every law of aviation, you should be dead. Raymond looks at the holes, looks at the blood on his hands, though he does not remember being cut. Looks up at the sky, where not long ago he was fighting for his life against 7 enemy fighters. I promised my wife I would come home for Christmas, he says. I intend to keep that promise. The chief just stares at him. There is nothing else to say. 1 hour later, Raymond sits in the ship's medical bay. A doctor has examined him and found nothing wrong except exhaustion and minor cuts from debris in the cockpit. He should be relieved. He should be celebrating. But instead, he feels empty, hollow, like something important has been taken from him. The door opens. Captain Sterling enters, Lieutenant Mitchell. Raymond starts to stand, but Sterling waves him back down. At ease. How are you feeling, fine sir? Ready for duty. Sterling almost smiles. I am sure you are, but that is not why I am here. He pulls up a chair and sits down across from Raymond. For a moment, he just looks at the young pilot, studying him like a problem he is trying to solve. What happened up there, Sterling says. Finally cannot have happened. Do you understand what I mean? Raymond does not understand. Sir Sterling leans forward, his voice dropping. You engaged and destroyed 4 Soviet aircraft. You killed Soviet pilots. If this becomes public, if the world finds out that American and Soviet pilots are killing each other in Korean skies, it could start a war. Not a Cold War, a real war, nuclear war. Raymond feels the blood drain from his face. He had not thought about it that way. In the heat of battle, he was just trying to survive. He was not thinking about politics or diplomacy or nuclear arsenals. The government, Sterling continues, has decided that this incident never happened. Officially, you engaged and shot down enemy aircraft of unknown origin. Your combat report will reflect that. All records will reflect that. The Soviets are saying the same thing on their end. Both sides are pretending this battle never occurred. But it did occur, Raymond says. I was there. I shot down those planes. Men died, yes. Sterling nods slowly. Men died, and you are a hero for what you did. But you will be a silent hero. You will receive the Silver Star for your actions today. The citation will mention combat with enemy aircraft. It will not mention the Soviet Union. And you will not speak of what really happened to anyone, ever. Raymond stares at him. Anyone, anyone. Not your fellow pilots, not your family, not your wife. No one can know, Lieutenant. The stakes are too high. The weight of it settles on Raymond's shoulders like a physical burden. He thinks about Maggie, about the letter in his pocket, about all the things he wanted to tell her. How long, he asks. How long do I have to keep this secret? Sterling stands up. As long as it takes. Could be years, could be decades, could be the rest of your life. He walks to the door, then pauses. I know this is hard, Lieutenant, but what you did today matters. You protected your ship. You protected your country. You may have prevented a world war just by surviving. That counts for something, even if no one ever knows about it. He leaves. Raymond sits alone in the medical bay. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out the letter to Maggie. The paper is crumpled now, stained with sweat and something that might be blood. He reads it one more time. I promise I will be home for Christmas. He cannot send this letter. He cannot tell Maggie what happened. He cannot share the most important experience of his life with the person he loves most in the world. Slowly, carefully, he tears the letter into small pieces. He lets them fall to the floor like snow. He will keep his promise. He will go home for Christmas. He will hold his wife and meet his son and live the life he almost lost. But a part of him will always remain in that frozen sky over Korea, fighting a battle that no one will ever know about, keeping a secret that will last for 50 years. In Vladivostok, Viktor Volkov lands his damaged MiG at the secret airbase. He climbs out of the cockpit and stands on the tarmac, looking at the holes in his aircraft, feeling the cold wind off the Pacific cut through his flight suit. Dmitry is dead. The young pilot who looked up to him like a brother, who trusted him to bring him home safe, is gone. And Viktor could not save him. Colonel Petrov approaches, his face grim. Captain Volkov. Report. Viktor reports. He tells of the engagement, the American aircraft, the battle. He does not mention his rage or his grief, or the moment when he and the American pilot locked eyes through their canopies and recognized something in each other. When he finishes, Petrov nods slowly. This engagement did not happen, Captain. Lieutenant Orlov died in a training accident. That is the official record. That is what you will tell everyone. Moscow's orders. Viktor feels the words like a punch to the gut. Dmitry died fighting. He died bravely. And now his death will be erased, turned into a lie, a footnote about a training accident that never occurred. Colonel Viktor starts. Those are your orders, Captain. Petrov's voice is not unkind, but it is final. I know it is hard, but this is how it must be. He walks away, leaving Viktor alone with his damaged aircraft and his grief. That night, Viktor writes in his diary, Today, I lost Dmitry. I promised to protect him. I failed. The American pilot who killed him was skilled, brave. In another world, we might have been friends. But we are not in another world. We are in this one, where men kill each other for flags and ideologies and secrets that will be buried with us. I do not hate the American. He did what I would have done. He fought to survive. That is all any of us can do. But I will remember this day. I will remember Dmitry, and I will remember the pilot who was good enough to beat us. He pulls out the photograph of Natasha and Alexei. His son is smiling in the picture, holding the wooden airplane Viktor carved for him. I will come home, Viktor whispers to the photograph. I promise. I will come home, and I will watch you grow up, and I will tell you stories about brave men on both sides of a war that no one remembers. It is a promise he will keep. Viktor Volkov survives the Korean War. He returns to his family. He watches his son grow up. He becomes a flight instructor, teaching the next generation of Soviet pilots. He never speaks of the battle over Korea, never mentions the American who killed Dmitry, never breaks the silence that both governments have demanded. But he never forgets. The years pass. Raymond Mitchell goes home to Maggie. He holds her in his arms and feels the baby kick inside her belly and cries tears that he cannot explain. He meets his son Thomas, born in February 1953, and teaches him to throw a baseball and fix a tractor and look a man in the eye when he shakes his hand. He serves in the Navy for 28 more years. He flies in Vietnam. He commands squadrons. He rises through the ranks. And never, not once, does he speak of what happened over Korea in November 1952. Maggie asks him sometimes about the war, about the Silver Star he received, about the scars on his hands, and the way he sometimes wakes up in the middle of the night breathing hard, reaching for a control stick that is not there. It was just combat, he tells her. Nothing special. She knows he is lying. She can see it in his eyes. But she loves him enough not to push. She trusts that when he is ready, he will tell her. He never becomes ready. In 1998, Margaret Mitchell dies of cancer at the age of 72. She goes to her grave without ever knowing what her husband did in the skies over Korea, without ever knowing that he shot down 4 Soviet fighters single-handedly, that he nearly started World War III, that he made a landing so impossible it still defies explanation. Raymond holds her hand as she passes, and in that moment he wishes more than anything that he could have told her, that he could have shared the truth with the woman who shared his life. But some secrets are heavier than love. Some promises cannot be broken, even by death. Then in 2002, 50 years after the battle, The documents are finally declassified. Raymond is 77 years old when he receives the call from the Pentagon. Mr. Mitchell, the voice says, we wanted to inform you that the records of your engagement on November 18, 1952, have been released from classified status. You are now free to discuss the events of that day. Raymond sits down slowly. 50 years. He has kept this secret for 50 years. He has carried this weight for half a century, and now finally he can put it down. But there is no relief, only a profound sadness. Maggie is gone. His parents are gone. Most of the men he served with are gone. The people he wanted to tell, the people who mattered most, are no longer here to listen. Who will believe me now? He whispers to himself. After 50 years, who will believe any of this? As it turns out, many people do. The story spreads slowly at first, then faster as journalists and historians discover the incredible tale. A documentary filmmaker named Chris Kluckhohn tracks Raymond down and convinces him to tell his story on camera for the first time. When the Russians hear about it, they finally acknowledge the engagement. They admit to losing 3 aircraft that day. But they claim they were ambushed by the Americans, caught by surprise in a cowardly attack. Raymond laughs when he hears this. Ambush at 7 against 1, and they call it an ambush. The Russians have a strange definition of ambush, but the Russian acknowledgement leads to something unexpected, something that will change Raymond's life one more time. In 2014, Raymond receives a letter. The envelope is postmarked Moscow. The handwriting is unfamiliar. The return address is a name he does not recognize. Alexei Volkov. Raymond opens the letter with trembling hands. Dear Mr. Raymond Mitchell, the letter begins. My name is Alexei Volkov. I am the son of Captain Viktor Antonovich Volkov, who flew against you on November 18, 1952. Raymond stops reading. His heart is pounding. Viktor Volkov, the pilot in the lead MiG, the man he faced in those terrifying head-on passes, the man he recognized as an equal and adversary worthy of respect. He continues reading. My father passed away in 2003. Before he died, he told me about that day. He told me about the American pilot who fought 7 of our best fighters alone and won. He said you were the bravest man he ever faced. My father lost his wingman in that battle, Dmitry Orlov. Dmitry was like a brother to him, and his death haunted my father until the end of his life. But he never blamed you. He said you did what any pilot would do. You fought to survive. You were a warrior doing your duty, just as he was. I am writing to you because I wanted you to know something. My father respected you. He spoke of you with admiration, not hatred. And I, the son of your enemy, also respect you. We were on opposite sides of history, Mr. Mitchell, but we were never truly enemies. We were soldiers following orders, fighting for what we believed in. And perhaps in another world, you and my father would have been friends. I hope this letter finds you well. I hope you have found peace in your long life. And I hope you know that on the other side of the world, there is a family that honors your memory just as they honor the memory of their own father. With deepest respect, Alexei Volkov. Raymond reads the letter 3 times. By the 3rd time, tears are streaming down his face. For 62 years, he has carried the weight of that battle. The men he killed, the secret he kept, the silence that separated him from everyone he loved. And now here is a voice from the other side telling him that he was not a murderer. He was a warrior. And the man he fought against, the man he nearly killed, respected him. It is more than forgiveness. It is understanding. Raymond writes back immediately. Dear Alexei, I am deeply moved by your letter. Your father was a great pilot. I remember our battle vividly. I remember the moment when our eyes met through our canopies and we recognized something in each other. Courage, perhaps. Or just the will to survive. I am sorry about Dmitry Orlov. He was so young, only 24. I did not know his name until I read the declassified documents. I wish I had not had to kill him. But war does not give us choices. Your father was right. We were warriors doing our duty. I have never hated the Soviet pilots I fought. I have only respected them as fellow airmen, fellow soldiers, fellow human beings caught up in forces larger than ourselves. Please know that your letter means more to me than any medal or honor I have ever received. It means that after all these years, after all the killing and the silence and the secrets, there is still room for understanding between enemies. There is still hope for humanity. I am 90 years old now. I do not have many years left. but I will spend them knowing that across the ocean, there is a family that does not hate me, that understands, that remembers. Thank you, Alexei. Thank you for giving an old man peace. With warmest regards, Raymond Mitchell. He frames the letter from Alexei and hangs it on his wall next to his silver star and his Navy pilot wings. In 2022, 70 years after the battle, the United States Navy finally upgrades Raymond's medal. The Silver Star becomes the Navy Cross, the second highest honor the Navy can bestow. The ceremony is held at the Pentagon, with the Secretary of the Navy himself pinning the medal on Raymond's chest. Raymond is 97 years old now. He sits in a wheelchair, his body frail but his eyes still sharp. 4 generations of his family surround him. His son Thomas, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, all of them finally knowing the truth about what their father and great-grandfather did in the skies over Korea. Lieutenant Raymond Mitchell, the secretary, says displayed extraordinary heroism when single-handedly he engaged 7 enemy aircraft, shooting down 4, while sustaining severe damage to his own aircraft. His actions protected his ship and his fellow sailors, and his skill in landing his crippled aircraft defied all odds. His courage, his determination, and his devotion to duty represent the highest traditions of the United States Navy. The medal is pinned. The audience applauds. Raymond looks down at the Navy Cross on his chest, then looks up at the sky through the window. 70 years, he whispers. It took 70 years. But I kept my promise, Maggie. I came home. In January 2026, Raymond Mitchell celebrates his 100th birthday. A reporter comes to interview him for a documentary about his life. They sit in his living room in California, surrounded by photographs and memories. On the wall next to his medals hangs the framed letter from Alexei Volkov. Mr. Mitchell, the reporter asks, "There is talk that you may receive the Medal of Honor, the highest military award. How do you feel about that?" Raymond smiles. The smile of a man who has lived a full life and has no regrets. "I did not do what I did for medals. I did it for my shipmates, for my country, for my wife. If they want to give me another piece of metal, I will accept it. But the metal that matters most to me is not made of gold or silver." He points to the letter on the wall. That letter, from the son of my enemy. He wrote that his father respected me, that he does not hate me, that we were just soldiers on opposite sides of history. His voice grows soft. "I fought the Soviets. I killed men. I kept a secret for 50 years that separated me from everyone I loved. But in the end, I learned something. We were not enemies. We were warriors. We were human beings caught up in something bigger than ourselves, trying to survive, trying to protect what we loved." He looks out the window at the California sky that reminds him of another sky 70 years ago, where he fought the battle of his life. If the son of Viktor Volkov can forgive me, then maybe there is hope for all of us. Maybe we are not as different as we think. Maybe in the end, we are all just people trying to do the right thing. The screen fades to black. White text appears. Captain Raymond Mitchell is still alive at age 100. He is the last surviving American pilot to shoot down Soviet aircraft. In 2026, he was nominated for the Medal of Honor. The letter from Alexei Volkov still hangs on his wall. A photograph appears, black and white, 1952. A young pilot, 27 years old, smiling in front of his F9F Panther. He looks confident, brave, ready for anything. Next to it, another photograph, color, 2022. An old man, 97 years old, white hair, lined face, but the same eyes, the same eagle eyes that scan the skies over Korea, looking for enemies, looking for a way home. There are heroes that the world never knows. They fight in the shadows. They keep secrets that separate them from everyone they love. They carry burdens that would crush ordinary men. Raymond Mitchell was one of those heroes. For 50 years, he stayed silent. For 50 years, he kept his promise. And when the truth finally came out, the world learned what one man could do when he refused to quit. 1 man against 7, 263 bullet holes, an impossible landing, and a secret that lasted half a century. This was his story, and now you know it too. The final image. Raymond Mitchell, 100 years old, sitting in his living room, looking at the letter from Alexei Volkov. A small smile on his face. Peace in his eyes. If you know a veteran who deserves to have their story told, share it in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please like and share it so that Raymond Mitchell's courage will never be forgotten. Some heroes wait 70 years to be recognized. Let us make sure the next generation does not have to wait that long.